Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and this is a special series during this COVID crisis where we'll be sharing the learnings, best practices, and failures and successes of all the channel leaders throughout the tech industry. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Hello, so I'm joined today in the studio with Scott Murphy from Ingram. How are you doing, Scott?
Yeah, good, mate. You?
Yeah, pretty good. So thanks for joining us. So the first question I've got, obviously, working for Ingram, massive distributor. Now you're in a market that's pretty good at the moment with cyber, UCC, and cloud. So you must be inundated with requests at the moment. So what are you seeing in the market from sort of like your partners?
Yeah, so in our space, as you rightly point out, it's been very busy. April. If you look at UCC in particular, in terms of headsets and video cameras and those kind of things, a massive explosion. There's a load of challenges with inventory because obviously a lot of people had factories in China. So we had the knock-on effect to China's lockdown. So a lot of it's just been around working with the vendors and our partners to prioritize inventory for the right people for some of the priority projects. But yeah, otherwise it's it feels pretty much business as usual for us and my team. So,
have you had any sort of inventory problems, like challenges around stock getting in into the market?
100%. I won't say problems is probably a strong word. We've managed to fulfil and get inventory, but it's definitely been challenging. If you look at the wider Ingram business, it's been challenging. There was already some constraints in channel anyway around certain hardware products. We're coming out of that, so I think we managed that quite well in March and April.
I've noticed when I spoke to people in the market about 4 or 5 weeks ago, everyone was having sort of spikes in laptops and everyone was trying to get kit in the market. And now there seems to be like a second wave, almost like, damn, I'm going to be here for a longer time and I need to get a more permanent infrastructure solution. And that might be whether it's cloud or UCC or cameras or whatever. Are you seeing that at the moment? Where it was there was about 4 weeks ago, it was just laptops, etc. But now it's a bit more. Actually, we need to get more permanent solutions and actually invest in that.
Definitely. What we initially saw was people just buying whatever you had.
Yeah.
Right. It was like people would come and say, I want 1,000 of them, 10,000 of them, whatever it was. Could be a headset, a laptop, or whatever. Not got that one, but I've got this one. It's not, and it'd be kind of like, that's not the one I want, but I'll take them. So that definitely happened, and now absolutely, people are kind of going and as people work from home. I work from home pre this, not on a 24/7 basis, but which changes the dynamic, right? Because I work behind my laptop, and I have a headset. You can't see it. It's a little small headset, etc.
Yeah.
But the more you work from home, it's like, well, actually, do we need a docking station? Do we need a bigger screen? Do we need keyboard? Do we need a proper chair?
Yeah.
It's all these kind of things that now people are starting to look at.
Yeah. And do you think that's going to continue sort of like so we're going into May now? What's this week 5 of lockdown? Do you see that continuing over the sort of like the coming sort of 6-7 weeks that people are starting to invest more in like permanent solutions?
I think my personal view is even when the lockdown is relaxed, it's not going to be back to normal. I think there's a realization happening in that this is here for another 3 to 6 months easily, depending who you listen to in the news and what experts are saying. So who knows when we'll be back into an office full time and whatnot. So 100%, I think I use the expression, the pendulum swung obviously massively to work from home, but I don't think it'll ever swing fully back.
Really? Because at the moment I'm hearing everyone wants to desperately go back in the office, but I almost think it'll be like a bit of a hybrid now. I actually think I don't think we'll do permanent homework, and I'm not thinking that's going to happen. I really don't. I think the collaboration is still needed for teams and divisions, etc. But I think it'll almost be a hybrid of the two now. Actually, people will actually think, well, actually, maybe 2 days a week from home or could work from home, etc. if needed. What's your view on what will happen?
I think it's that flexibility, isn't it? Yeah, I think that will happen much more, and I think there'll be much more, kind of hot desk and huddle based collaboration and meetings and working through. Because people do still want to go to the office, right? I still miss being in the office, being out of the house, getting up and traveling.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I miss it. I don't miss it every day. I'm sure after a couple of days I won't want to do it anymore. Yeah, because that's the good side of this. I think there's a lot of people kind of realise, well, hang on, I've been running around all over. Did I need to be? Was I being as efficient and enjoying my life as much as I need to? I think there's a little bit of a rat race because even if you kind of look socially in terms of I've seen yesterday. I think it was in Turkey. Some dolphins have appeared in one of their canals or rivers.
Yeah,
Never been there for years because there's no boats on the water. So
yeah.
I think the world is just changing for the better, and hopefully it's obviously with all of the bad stuff, there's a lot of good that comes out of it.
Absolutely. In terms of you mentioned there about meetings, etc. Obviously, you've got a lot of people working for you, circa 80 people or whatever. But if you're going out to customers, etc., would you now review if you'd actually do it on maybe like a Zoom call or a video call like this? Because I'm hearing a lot of people sort of saying, look, they had a meeting in Liverpool and then a meeting in Manchester the same day, and then what they would do is they'll travel between. I'm hearing now, it was like, well, they go to the Manchester one, but they'll actually do a Zoom call for the Liverpool one. So your view of your own sort of like diary and arranging meetings, do you think that will change how you sort of like deal with prospects as well?
I think in the same way as you were saying about the office working, being much more kind of hybrid and flexible, I think the same will happen for meetings. I don't think you can ever replace, physically sitting down and taking the time to spend some time with somebody.
No.
And certainly one thing that is missing, which I'm a massive, massive believer in, is, that kind of networking piece, one-on-one with a customer or one-to-many with a customer, whether it's coffee, going for a drink, going to an event, whatever that may be. That is definitely, we're suffering a little bit with that in terms of certainly building new relationships. It's very hard to build a relationship over a video camera. It's better to build over a video camera than over a telephone, and certainly better than over an email. Yeah. But it still doesn't replace that physical face-to-face. So I think there'll be a degree. If you built a relationship with somebody and it's just a touch point meeting or call, cup of coffee meetings as I call them, I think they will reduce. But I think important meetings and reviews and those kind of things will still happen.
You touched on there about events and networking. Now, obviously, the events have been catastrophic, haven't they? They've all been cancelled. Cloud Expo, Infosec, or whatever it is. Do you think those mass gatherings of those events will happen next year? Do you think we'll naturally go back to those, or do you think because I've seen a lot of them now been doing virtual webinars, virtual meetings, virtual events, etc., and they've seemed to have worked quite well. Now, I know it's not, you don't get the personal interaction, but do you think we'll naturally go back to these mass gatherings like Infosec and Cloud Expo, etc.?
I think we probably will, not by design, but I think just because there's a lot of infrastructure and investments in those things, right? But I think it'd be interesting. Our global cloud summit was due in a couple of weeks. We cancelled that very early on. Obviously, Microsoft Inspire.
Yeah.
It's been not been cancelled, but it's been turned virtual.
Yeah.
So it'd be very interesting to see how that works. Now, the flip side is, if you look at Inspire, actually the value I get from Inspire isn't the content. It's the networking, meeting the partners, meeting the Microsoft, etc. I hope that it becomes this new, again, using this hybrid flexibility approach, that it changes and it evolves for the better. So it may be that, rather than it being 3 days, it can be 1 day, and the content can be online, and the day's more about networking. Because a lot of those kind of expo events, if you probably go to them yourself, 60-70% of the people that are there to network and walk around, meet and greet. They're not there to go and attend sessions and learn. And that's a judgment rather than a fact. But so I don't know is the answer, but I'd like to think that it evolves for the better.
Okay. Obviously, your team, circa 80 people. I'd like to think, hopefully, that it was maybe quite seamless for you when you actually was forced into remote working. But tell me how you adjusted to that. Obviously, 4 weeks ago, was it seamless, or did you have any issues at all?
No, I think for my division in particular within Ingram, it was fairly seamless because probably over half my team are work from home contracts anyway.
Right.
Because don't live in Milton Keynes, which is where our head office is. Even myself, I live in Manchester, not in Milton Keynes, so I commuted to Milton Keynes. So that was fairly seamless because we all had laptops, we all had phones, we've got soft phones, etc., etc. We use Teams. For the wider business, again, it was fairly seamless. Actually, we did a really good job as a management team. we was planning as soon as it was kind of coming downstream. Initially, I didn't appreciate, back in January, February, I was like, oh no, it's not that bad. And then you kind of I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, but as a management team, some really good people being proactive on that team, and we made sure we got the laptops for people that didn't have laptops, and started to test the VPNs. We got still a few teething issues, especially around people that use the internal systems in anger because of the latency and the lag if they've not got the proper laptop, and it's it's kind of remote desktop stuff. But in general, no, I think we managed to no impact at all really in terms of customers phone the same number and you get through to the same person and all those things.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about obviously the forms of communication. Obviously, the best one is obviously face-to-face. The second one is obviously hopefully video because you can see some interaction, the phone, and then email. Now, I don't know about you, but I rarely got on video calls with clients at all now. But I'm obviously forced into it because I can't do the first one, and I'm not going to default to email because obviously it's just worthless anyway. So, has your communication style of you and your team changed with your customers now? Are you naturally defaulting to this, or are you going to phone and email and just working from that?
It's a mixture, but we're certainly using video, a lot more, right? So, we're still there's still phone calls and there is still emails, right? But a lot of those emails are transversing onto Messenger Teams. Yes, there's a lot more collaboration in that. But I've had some of my internal people start to feedback. It's great because they spent the whole life on the phone every day, 9x5. Now they're using Teams just because everyone's using it and doing video, and they're actually building a much better relationship because they don't do face-to-face because they're internal. And they said when I go back to the office, that's what I'm going to do more of because I feel like I've got a better relationship.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, what that then means is when they go back to the office, they need a better headset to make sure they've got noise cancelling. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of that will happen. But even I've been speaking to people, if it's not on Teams, FaceTime. I've never used FaceTime in work. And now all of a sudden, some of my vendors and some of my people I know well that I don't normally have a telephone conversation with, it's a quick FaceTime with. So and it's much better. It's a shorter conversation.
I think that's better as well, Scott. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing meetings now where I'd call up and think, well, I'd leave a message. Say I'm trying to get hold of you. I'll leave a message for you and I'll wait for you to call back, etc. Now I'm almost booking 15-minute meetings. I'm booking half-hour meetings, even if it's over a phone call or I'm actually booking it in their diary. Whereas before, I would just call and hope they'd call back. As your guys, especially your internal guys, because they're obviously used to being on the phone, taking calls from partners, etc. Have they had to adjust how they're managing their sort of day-to-day diary and actually engaging with their customers as well?
That's all. We was doing a lot of that anyway in terms of scheduled calls and diaries. It's just that the conversation is now it's a face-to-face video meeting as opposed to a telephone call. But I think you're right because too often do I phone people or people phone me, and then you've got to drop. You've got to stop thinking about what you was doing and try and pivot. You're not it's not the most conducive conversation. Whereas if you book it in, it's coming, then actually you can, your brain starts to think about it, and it's much better.
With your current team, have you had any challenges around mental health and anxiety and well-being? Because it's a big team we've got, and there's a lot of internals that they might not have had office desks and phones and whatever it is, laptops or chairs or whatever it is to actually have that home office. Have you had to sort of adjust your management style, or have you had any challenges around mental health and well-being?
So I think certainly mental health and well-being is it's something that I'm certainly passionate about, and Ingram is supportive of, and it's very important. There has been individuals that you're aware of because you spoke to them before, that suffer with anxiety and other things that we've kind of been proactive with. We very quickly, my management team, very quickly made sure they've got touch points with the team, kind of 2-3 times a day, huddles.
Yeah,
one of my GMs is running meditation sessions. I organised a personal trainer online for the division and just kind of put that in 3 times a week. So we're trying to just do different things You know, and I guess one of the challenges that we as an organisation, one of the responsibilities we've got is that make sure, obviously, as we want to make sure that productivity is high and all those kind of things, you got to make sure that people don't feel like they're a part of a machine, right? That they're an individual. So that's one thing. But yeah, no, we definitely supporting those people. In my area, we've been okay. We've had a few people struggle, but every now and then, it might be at the night time, and there'll be a couple of individuals that I'll be aware of, and I know they've had some challenges, and I'll just drop them a text. How are you getting on? And we'll have a bit of football banter, or we'll have a bit of whatever banter, etc. So, yeah, no, it's just I think it's just being available to people and letting them know that you're about.
Do you think you've actually changed your sort of management style for you and your managers? Because you mentioned there about checking up on people, etc., etc. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in the office, I wouldn't actually think about just checking up on them. I'll be just like, I pass them on the water cooler or coffee, etc. I might say hello, etc. But it was almost like I wouldn't be aware if they had any anxiety because I could see them. So have you and your managers actually sort of like on purposely change your sort of style and your leadership and your management to those sort of staff? Or all the staff?
Probably not, because we was already doing a lot of those things even in the office, right? We was already doing maybe not as regular touch points as a team, but again, that we're very I'm very passionate about people development and those things. So we're ensuring that everyone has a one-to-one, a regular one-to-one. Everyone's got there's a regular weekly team meeting, there's forecast meetings and all these things. So a lot of the things we were doing, probably what we're doing more so that we wasn't doing before, is some of those conversations are non-work related now, some of those meetings, whereas before all meetings were work related and the non-work related stuff just happened.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a little bit, but not a lot.
And Scott, regarding training, how are you training your guys, or are you lifting them now to sort of like just deal with their customers as it was? Because I'm seeing a lot of you. Yes, it's virtual training sessions, etc., but it's still very, very challenging to get that message over across on the platform. I think from training. So how are you doing training, or are you actually leaving your employees actually to get on with it at the moment?
No, we're still offering training to people. We're doing obviously a lot of training is online now anyway. We've got in terms of partner training, we do webinars. We've got a webinar tomorrow. So in terms of to the partner community, we're also organising specific kind of partner trainings where maybe 20 people jumping on a Teams, and so it's really interactive and stuff. So to be honest with you, I've not seen training being impacted at all. What I guess one thing is the kind of whiteboarding piece goes away a little bit, which you can kind of get round, but yeah.
Have you got any issues regarding credit lines, etc.? So I was speaking to a couple of partners last week, and they might have had access to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of stock or credit through distribution, and maybe now they might not have the cash flow to actually finance that themselves. So is there a squeeze on credit at the moment in the distribution, or is it still quite fluid?
It's certainly a squeeze. But part of distribution's job is obviously providing credit line, and that's why a lot of vendors have distribution in channel, right? And so we're certainly seeing. We're seeing, obviously, we trade with thousands of organisations of all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah,
we are seeing some organisations struggle. In that kind of SMB space, we're seeing organisations furlough with a lot of staff. And we are taking more. We are having to take on more risk to support that business. Our vendors are supporting, right? Whether it's we've got extended cash days and those kind of things, and we're trying to support our partner community in the same way. So it's a little bit different to a normal situation. The onus would be on us as a disti to provide and take that risk on our own. This situation, the vendors are stepping up as well, so it's a shared risk.
Oh, brilliant! In terms of actually hiring, are you constantly hiring and looking for new talent, or have you put it on hold at the moment because you can't physically get them in the building?
Well, interesting. Again, in my area, we've still been hiring. I've probably had 4, maybe 5 new starters in the last 5 weeks since the lockdown. Okay. So and I keep saying to them all, I kind of obviously touch points, one of them directly into me actually, and then some into the other teams, and keep saying, how's your onboarding going? It must be a strange time to join an organisation. But again, because there's all these team huddles and all these videos, you still get to meet people, still interacting and being onboarded. Obviously, we had to get them the kit, so they've had to go to the office to pick the kit up. But once they've done that, because our office isn't technically closed, even though there's nobody in it.
Yeah.
They've got the kit, and then thankfully being able to just work from home. We've got another new starter I think in a week, 10 days. So yeah, no, it's I'm pretty comfortable with it really in terms of getting the people onboarded and productive.
Yeah, fantastic. And my last question, Scott. Obviously, I know you're not the world health expert or whatever, health secretary or anything. But
what are you trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. In your opinion, what you're seeing in the market, what do you see the sort of like the next 2 or 3 months? What's your opinion? What's going to happen
in terms of the market?
Yeah.
Oh, if a crystal ball, and it could be a rich man, couldn't it? But I think there'll be a little bit of a recovery in, certainly in my area. I think we'll continue to see growth. I think it'll change in terms of where that business comes from. Different businesses have got different challenges. But I think as the lockdown relaxes, it'll still be a lockdown, right? So for at least another 3-6 months, in terms of people being full time back in an office and back to normal lives. So I think cautious, but I think things will start to get more back to normal. And in my area, I think there'll be more projects. There'll be an explosion in that area.
Great. Scott, you've been a great guest. Thanks very much for your time.
No, thanks for having me. Cheers, Marc.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.